welcome everyone who is with us in this Zoom circle. We're going to have a chance to talk afterwards. And everyone who is joining us, this is our first time going on Facebook Live. I think we're on Facebook Live. I'm not sure if it's actually happening or not, but if it is, welcome to everyone. And I'll be sharing this video in some other spaces as well. So I'm going to ask the folks that are on Zoom to go ahead and mute your mic so that you don't accidentally pop up on the screen while we're recording and sharing, and jump right into talking about today and some soul medicine tools to get us through the weekend and to get us through this time. I would like to say and acknowledge that it is a very, very potent time that we're experiencing right now. We're still kind of figuring out COVID. We're moving into this period of increased visibility of institutional racism. We had a little bit of a chat about that before we started recording. And, you know, in addition to that, we have this glorious summer solstice. We have the new moon. We have an eclipse. We have Mercury going retrograde. We have Venus going direct. There's just like a lot going on. And the aspect of our being that's responsible for managing all of that is the heart and the fire element. So what I thought I would share today are just give you a little bit of an overview of what's going on with the solstice in this beautiful dance of light that we're experiencing. And then also talk about some morning quickie or evening nightcap tools that you can use to settle or boost the heart depending on how this season is hitting you and, you know, over the weekend. So I'm going to just check in with my folks in Zoom. If you guys can give me a thumbs up if you're seeing my face on the screen, or if you're seeing something else, you can give me like a little thumbs down. Because as y'all know, I see something totally different from what you're seeing. So, so hopefully we'll get this all going. All right, so let's talk a little bit about what the solstice is. And I think the best way to think about the solstice is thinking about it as a dance of light. And so let's go back to basics. So when we're looking at this dance of yin and light, we come back to these two forces, yin and yang. I know many of you have seen this symbol. Maybe if you have it tattooed on you, maybe you picked up some little, you know, gadget or thing somewhere that has this Taiji symbol. And basically it represents these two forces, the forces of yin, which are related to the earth and our body, the denser aspect of existence, and the yang, which is related to the heaven or the spirit or the more ephemeral aspect of our existence. And these two forces dance together every year, every day, every moment of our lives. And so when we're talking about the yin, we're talking about this lunar energy. We're talking about things that, you know, are cold and dark and produce form and substance. And the yin also relates to our subconscious mind. It's the parts of ourselves that we can't see, because the yin is about things being hidden and moving slowly, right? When we think about the yin time of year, we're thinking about winter. You know, that time of year when you don't want to get out of bed and it takes you a long time to get going. That's yin, 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 yin. And the opposite of that is the yang. And the yang is this solar aspect of our being. The yang is what moves fast, it expands, it's hot. And while the yin is related to the soul and the body, the yang is related to spirit. It moves fast. And, you know, a way to think about it is like, I can dream about being in California right now and be there quickly, but it's going to take a little bit of time for my body to get there, right? So the yin and yang are these two aspects of ourselves, and they dance together throughout the day. So the yang time of the day is going to be when the sun is up, because it's the solar aspect of existence. So noon is going to be like right about now, is very yang time of day. And then the yin is going to be down here when it's midnight and it's dark and it's still and it's quiet. So we have that daily clock of yin and yang dancing with each other. And in an ideal world, yin and yang are in balance. They're like two halves of the same coin. They're equal and opposite. They represent the divine masculine and the sacred feminine. Neither one of those is more important than the other. They depend on one another. They create one another, and most importantly, they transform into one another. These are like the four classic principles of when we're looking at yin and yang in the Taoist theory. These are like the four classical principles. They're equal and opposite. One can't exist without the other. They create one another, and they're relative to one another, and they transform into each other. And what we have at the solstice is this beautiful moment where yang turns into yin. And at the winter solstice, yin turns into yang. So let's look at that on our little clock. We have the solstice up here. And so we think about it, you know, the equinox is equal day, equal night. So yin and yang are equal sunrises and sunsets at around the same time, 6 o'clock standard, before we throw in, like, you know, the different things with daylight savings times and things like that. But equal day, equal night, 12 hours a day, 12 hours a night. That's the significance of the equinox. Day and night, yin and yang are equal. And from the spring equinox, the days get longer and longer and longer and longer until we reach the solstice, which is the longest day of the year. It's the most yang day of the year. And then what happens when something reaches its peak, it transforms. So now after we hit the longest day of the year, it transforms into yin, and the days start getting shorter. And the nights get longer and longer and longer and longer until we reach the winter solstice, when that reverses and the days get longer again. So we're at this crux point this weekend on the solstice. We're at this crux point where yin and yang are not only transforming into one another, but there's this divine connection between them. So we have this alignment right here down the center of yin and yang, which what I think about is that means that it is a potent time for yin and yang aspects of our being to be working together. And by that I mean how our conscious awareness can peep into our subconscious emotions and the things that are happening beneath the surface, and then also how we can use what's coming up from the inside to inform how we think and feel about the world. So it's like yin and yang are dancing together, but also our conscious mind and subconscious mind are in this kind of like portal moment, which is really great for programming, both personally and collectively. And so here are some activities that you can do over the solstice to really honor that connection between body and spirit, subconscious and conscious. One of the really great things that you can do during this weekend is journal your dreams. So I get that the energy is high and the vibes are high, and you might not feel inclined to sleep too much. You might be actually getting less hours of sleep, but your dreams also might be a little bit more vivid. So this is a great time to sleep with that journal under your pillow and be ready to write down your dreams, even if they don't make sense, but to just capture what comes up, because it's this potent time of the subconscious and conscious mind trying to communicate with one another. This is a great time to bridge vision board. During the winter solstice, I often talk about prayer boarding, which is a more receptive process, but this is a great time to actually infuse your vision into your subconscious. So if there's something that you're really working on, that you're clear on, that you know that you want, and you can see it, feel it, taste it, add some art to that, and create a vision board to fuel you through the rest of the year. This is a great time to read or watch, I should say, spiritual texts or movies. Try not to embody your mind with a lot of the images of the trauma that's happening in our communities. Try not to take in those images, because it can really go into our psyche during this time. So we know what's going on. This is not an opportunity to be in denial or to ignore what's going on, but to really be careful about the imagery that you take in. It's a great time to pray and meditate. Very simple morning rituals to just gaze into a candle and honor that fire aspect, that yang aspect. It's a great time to honor your ancestors through whatever rituals or practices that you have. For some of that's calling on the strength of our ancestors. For some of us, that's reconciling the wrongs of our ancestors. This is a good time to do that work. I talked about creating art, and then also because our conscious mind is active, it's a good time to reflect on the lessons and blessings. What have you brought into being over the past 6 months since the winter solstice? If you did a prayer board during the winter solstice, what's unfolding? What are you seeing starting to manifest out of the intentions that you planted during that deep, dark time of the year? So those are some of my favorite, those are some of the things I'm gonna be doing over the weekend. Lots of dreaming, lots of vision boarding, really working with imagery and planting new messages and really activating my conscious intention into the world. So holding a really clear vision, not just for yourself, but for our society, for our communities. What is it that we are moving towards? What is it that we are working towards? What is the vision that is guiding our actions right now? And the summer solstice gives us a moment to tap into that. And also significant to know that there is a solar eclipse on this particular solstice. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm not even all sure what that's gonna mean for us. So what I'm hoping is that the tools that I share today are gonna help our heart hold whatever that eclipse brings up for us in our personal lives or in our collective experience. So let's talk about the fire element, because as you saw in that previous slide, the summer solstice, it's tricky. Different philosophies say different things, but in some traditions, the summer solstice ushers in the fire element. It's like the fire element birthday in the calendar. And in some traditions, it's the height of the fire element. So either way you slice or dice it, it's fire element when we're looking at the solstice, whether it's birth or it's blossoming. And so we've been talking a lot about wood, the wood element. We are collectively having a big wood element moment, just like COVID-19 was a collective water element moment. So we're still gonna feel those influences. We're also still going to be feeling the influences of the metal element because it's a metal element year. And now here comes fire, just making it all like a nice, pretty canvas of everything. So what is the fire element? The fire element, when we think about fire and the places that we bring fire into our lives, it's around, we have this solar energy. We light candles when we're praying. We're like candles when we're about to get it in with our lover. We light candles when we're cooking. The fire element, one of the key aspects of the fire element is connection. The fire element is about either connecting to others, connecting to ourselves, or connecting to the divine. And the fire element really is about our uninhibited, authentic, and joyous true nature. It's the who we are here to be. It's like when we come into the world as new beings, as new spirits, before we've had any trauma, before we've had anyone hurt or wound us, it's that exuberance of the preciousness of life and being like on my planet. It's almost on this planet. It's almost like oh my goodness, look how beautiful Earth is, right? It's this uninhibited, unafraid, authentic, joyous aspect of ourselves. That's what we're tapping into when we're tapping into the fire element. The fire element also relates to what we call the spark of our divinity. So in this cosmogony, one of the creation stories says that, in the beginning, everything was one. There was one universe, unified consciousness, and then there was an explosion and a spark. Each spark from that explosion became a new soul or a new light. And so in this philosophy, we each have that spark of that original divinity, that essential oneness of the universe, not even humanity, of the universe, like the oneness with all things, that divine consciousness. We each have a spark of that. And in this philosophy, it's called the Shen. And you can see here, this character for the heart, it's a little bowl with that little spark of the Shen inside it. So the heart is what holds that divinity for us. And the fire element is part of that spark. The fire element teaches us how to relate to that spark. That fire element teaches us how we can connect to that. It's inner knowing. It's the confidence to be and do who we are supposed to be and do. It's that knowingness of our own greatness. There's no confusion when we're connected to that spark. We know ourselves fully and completely, and we can be authentic in ourselves fully and completely when we're in tune with that spark. And also in this philosophy, there's these little red Shen birds. And in this philosophy, the birds they can fly up to the heavens, they can get the insight of the divine, and they bring it down to earth. And these little humble birds that fly close to the ground, and they protect the Shen. They protect that spark of divinity. And when we look at the classical literature for a diagnosis that they call Shen disturbance, what we see is that the symptoms of Shen disturbance, meaning that those little birds that are keeping the heart and divinity safe, they're like, y'all are wilding out here on earth. So they just kind of fly up and they hang out and wait for when it's safe to come back and rest in the heart. And the symptoms of that, when we look in the classics, are very similar to the symptoms that we see with PTSD or any of the other kind of shock and trauma symptoms. So some of those symptoms include anxiety, difficulty sleeping. It includes having a hard time making decisions. I'm just going to mute the mic of that person that just joined our circle. Welcome. Hard time making decisions, hard time concentrating. If any of you over the last couple of weeks have been feeling like you sit down to work or focus and it's like you just can't be fully present. Our minds are really busy. Someone's like, how can I help you? Or what do you need? And you're like, I don't know what I need. And that's the Shen. That's the Shen being disrupted and us not being in connection with it, because again, the spirit stays perfect. It can't be wounded. It just flies up with these little Shen birds. Heart palpitations, feeling disconnected, feeling like we've lost a sense of purpose, daydreaming, disassociation, all of those things are related to this, what we call Shen disturbance. And so as we move into the weekend and as we move into, the solstice season, this eclipse season, we want to protect the Shen. And so here are some tools. The first is working with roses. Roses are the quintessential flower of the fire element. There's so many varieties of roses, just like there's so many varieties of love, right? And I had a chance this weekend to visit one of my sisters to harvest these really beautiful Persian roses. And these Persian roses are the roses that we use to make essential oils and things like that, all kinds of medicine. And so however you can bring roses into your life over this weekend, go for it. Another one of my sisters, Khadija, of Life Wellness, makes this really divine rose spray, so you can pick that up. She also makes an essential oil. You can bring roses into your home, put them in a vase. However you can bring some roses in, they are especially healing for the heart and the flower essence, the fire element. They know what the heart needs. You can just bring some meditative presence to working with roses this cycle. I also work a lot with an essential oil. It's called Rose Heaven. It's a blend of different kinds of roses. You can use any kind of rose essential oil. And what I thought I would do is I would share some acupressure points that you can apply either the roses or your essential oil or your spray or the image that you're holding of roses to over this powerful weekend. So the first question is, moving into this weekend, how is your Shen? How is that light of divinity? How is that spirit moving for you right now? And so I'm going to share 2 points, but they both have very different functions. So for some of us, our Shen is really activated. We would say it's in excess right now. It's like, that's the anxiety. That's the trouble thinking. That's a million thoughts a minute. That's the confusion around like, wait, what was I just doing? I don't even know. That's like the Shen being really activated. It might show up as heart palpitations or nervousness or jittery or feeling really scattered or really jumpy, easily startled. So that's one expression of the Shen being kind of out of harmony right now. So if that's you, there's going to be a point that you can use. And then on the other side of the spectrum, you might be feeling like the light in the candle got blown out. So maybe you're feeling totally in a sense of disconnection. Maybe it's really hard for you to engage with the world right now. Maybe you're confused about your purpose because you're feeling like you don't have a purpose. Maybe there's tremendous grief that is weighing you down. And that's another expression of the fire element. And so, and important to remember as we're talking about the Shen, that both of those expressions, or even going back and forth, you know, one day is high, one day is low, is part of the result of trauma. We are in a collective trauma right now, and then many of us have our personal traumas on top of that. So just take a minute right now to tune into for yourself today, where's your Shen? Is it up? Is it high? Does it need to be grounded and come back into a place of stillness? Or is it low and discouraged and needs a little spark? So just take a moment to do some inner gazing and see which of those feels relevant to you right now. And then once you've got that, let's look at some points. Well, I'll go back a moment. So both of these points, the most easy way to find them is by making a fist. Small fist, raise your fist, there you go. And then one point is going to be at the tip of where your middle finger is. And one point is going to be at the tip of where your pinky finger is, just so you have a reference for where we're going to be moving and what we're going to be looking at. So the first power portal is Heart 8. This is a fire point on a fire meridian. And in Chinese medicine, the qi of our body flows through points at different times. And so there's actually an ideal time to work with the energy of a particular point or meridian because the qi is flowing through that point. And especially with these 2 points that I'm sharing with you, they're both fire points on the fire meridian. And I'm going to share with you the fire times of day that they're activated. And then we have the fire time of year, which is the solstice. So if you can work with these points during the solstice at the time that is indicated, which we'll talk about, you're really, really activating and harmonizing the fire element in a really deep way. Of course, these points are always accessible to us, but we're going into the solstice. So solstice time of year, solstice time of day, fire point, fire meridian. It's like you can't go wrong with the amount of energetic cosmic healing that is available to us this weekend. So let's look at the first one. The first one is going to be more of a sedating and calming aspect of the heart. This is more, I think, of for like if there's a lot of agitation, when we're feeling a little fired up. The time of day for this point is 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. So, hey, we're right here in that moment. And so this, from the classics, it says that the heart has been weighed down by grief, clouded by anger, wearied by excitement, or scattered by fear, which is, I don't know about y'all, but I'm all of those things right now. This point restores vitality so that it can gently disperse its warmth, radiance, and communication. So this is especially useful for those of us who are internalizing the trauma of the collective, and it's showing up in how we relate to one another in our homes, parents, lovers, children, you name it. This is especially useful if we're not sleeping well, having anxiety. And so this is the point that once you make that fist and you go to the pinky finger, where the pinky finger rests, and you can see in the diagram, it's between those two bones, the metacarpal bones of the hand. That's where that point rests. And you can just gently press it. I know mine is a little tender right now because I'm a little fiery. But this is a point that you can just press, massage, again, especially during those times of day, over the weekend. And also this point really responds well to rose essential oil and or kind of a rose-like meditation. a rose-like visualization. And as you press it, you might feel something moving through your chest. As you kind of press into that point, you might feel something expanding a little bit. The next point is going to be for if you are on the other side of that description, feeling a little hopeless, feeling discouraged, feeling like someone blew out the light in your divinity candle. It says, if joy, love, and vitality have been crushed, this point can create a spark, reigniting interest in intimacy, connection, and conscious awareness or conscious behavior. And so this point is right when you make a fist, it's right at the tip of where your middle finger falls. This is also the point, I call it like a resurrection point, when we see images of the Christ being crucified. You know, the nails were right through the center of the palm, right through this point. And the name of this point is so poetic. It's called the Palace of Weariness. So this is a point that we go to when we feel that heaviness and that weariness, that burden of being a spirit on earth, in all the weight and gravity that comes with being in human form when we're really divine spirits. The Palace of Weariness is going to restore or help to restore that spark. So that's a point that you can massage as well, or again, use with essential oils to find a little bit of lift. Okay, so I hope you like those tools. We're going to wind down with just some ways that you can stay connected with some exciting announcements. I'm going to share those. The first is coming up this Wednesday, our monthly free webinar, Lift Every Voice. We're going to offer this in two sections. The first one at 12 p.m. is for people of color and allies. I see you on Facebook having those difficult conversations with your racist or mildly racist friends. I see you having those conversations within yourselves. So the 12 p.m. Workshop or webinar is for anyone who wants to talk about those kinds of issues. And then the 6 p.m. is for us by us, folks that identify as Black, and holding that as a sacred space. So we're going to be talking about microaggressions and using our voice as an agent of change. It's an important aspect. Our voices are important for all of us. You know, it's our first active manifestation, and we're going to be talking about our voices aligning with action and really just honoring that it's a sensitive time, and we want to hold space for the safety of all of those conversations. So if you are using your voice to resist, confront, transform, or heal, please come on Wednesday and sign up for the appropriate time. Also, today marks the first day our Soul Medicine Clinic is live 95. I'm very excited to be joining forces with some women healer practitioners that I love beyond. We've been doing this work together for a few lifetimes, so we're bringing it back again. The Soul Medicine Clinic is the first virtual flower essence clinic. All of the practitioners are certified practitioners, and you can sign up for a low-cost monthly flower essence session. The session includes a flower essence that will be mailed to you. So if you've been thinking about working with flower essences, not sure where to start, this is a great place. If you need some like soul first aid to get you through the weekend or through the month, you do have to make your appointments in advance, Monday through Friday. I'm excited that every single day, Monday through Friday, a different practitioner is available to our community to offer this kind of support. So you can visit my website for the links to schedule with myself, with Renee Smith, with Aki Baker, or with Sundar Ashni, all phenomenal, incredible healers and soul sisters. And then last but not least, if you feel called to support our soul medicine work, we do have a Patreon account. Prayers, love, magic are also accepted with gratitude. But if you have anywhere from $5 to $250, please join our Patreon account. You'll get some little updates as we go along, but that is live as well, and we welcome your support there. So we are going to stop recording, have a conversation with the folks that are in the Soul Medicine Circle via Zoom. If you'd like to join that circle, you can sign up on the website to be a part of those offline conversations about how we're bringing this medicine into our life. And we will see you every week on Friday. And I have no idea whether or not this posted to Facebook Live, but I did record it and we'll try to share it some other way. So thank you, everybody. And I can't wait to see you soon.